Let's jump to love-hate pass catchers, starting with the love list, and a guy who makes his way back on here after a tough start to the season, but good to see Matthew Ladd McConkey as a top 13 wide receiver again.
Since week 5, he has been, wait for it, McConkulous. Team high 27% target share on the Chargers since week 5. No one on the team has more end zone targets over that stretch than Ladd McConkey. He's got 7. And then you think about this matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's unbelievable, right? Steelers have allowed the most receptions. They've allowed the most receiving yards. They've allowed the most fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers this season. Pick a stat, the Steelers are bad at it. And since week 4, Pittsburgh also allows the 5th most yards per game to the slot. So Ladd McConkey, who's playing wide receiver, he's become the number 1 for this high-flying Chargers offense that loves to pass and pass a lot. Herbert's playing as well as I've ever seen him in his career. He's just dialed in. I have McConkey at wide receiver 13. I think low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2, but love him in this matchup against the Steelers.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I did take his over on pregame last week, 5.5, and I was shocked. I was just shocked he couldn't get to that number because he done picked it up. He's number 1 now.
Yeah, I think the Chargers pass catcher situation behind McConkey is a weekly confusion between QJ, Keenan Allen, and Gadsden. What's the order of those guys going to be for effectiveness? I think Ladd McConkey's kind of separated himself as the clear tier 1 of that group. Martin Cam on YouTube, I got offered Marvin Harrison Jr. and Troy Franklin for Ladd. Full PPR. Thoughts?
I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it either, not with Jacoby Brissett. Not with that game we just saw.
Not with Kyler Murray just being placed on IR. It means he's done for the next 4 weeks at least. So that happened yesterday. So we see that Jacoby Brissett is like, he's no dummy. I don't want Marvin's dad tweeting at me.
He said it. He said it. He was like, when did you get that connection? When he got on the field, when he put his helmet on.
So we're saying do the trade then, because you got offered Marvin Harrison. So
I thought he was asking, should he do it? Should he trade it? Should he trade those 2 guys for McConkey? Is what I thought he said. But here's what I will say. We prefer, either way, it doesn't matter. We prefer the McConkey-Troy Franklin side. I'm sorry, we prefer the Marvin Harrison Jr. and Troy Franklin side to the McConkey side. Yes. Because I don't know that there's that much difference between Harrison and McConkey. And then there's, the added benefit of Troy Franklin, who could, here we go. So
he
Martin
should do it.
I got offered Harrison and Franklin for Ladd. Yes,
right.
You guys were right. I was wrong. Martin, you should do the trade. I would accept it. I'd prefer those 2 guys to Ladd McConkey because there's some upside to Troy Franklin.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, there is technically some upside to Jameson Williams, and he had a much better game against the Vikings by his standards. He hasn't lived up to the lofty preseason expectations around his upside, but I do think that if you want to roll the Jameson Williams dice, this is the type of week to do it against your Commanders, your secondary, Matthew, which gives up 2nd most explosives in the league after the Titans. We saw that against the Seahawks, where everyone was getting deep, and so if there's ever going to be a
except Jackson Smith-Njigba. Everyone got deep for a touchdown except for Jackson Smith-Njigba.
He got deep, but he got deep for 26-yard
passes.
Not
28 and a half. Needed him to get to 29. He had multiple catches of 20 yards or more than 20 yards, but couldn't get to.
Could not quite get there. But if there's ever going to be a Jameson Williams week, you couldn't script it better than this one against the Commanders. Jaylen Waddle continues, Matthew, to excel in the absence of Tyreek Hill. And he gets a matchup against Buffalo that's hurting a little bit on defense, and the Dolphins are expected to be in a throw script as 9.5 point.
Yeah, exactly. They're 9.5 point dogs. Games at home. Jaylen Waddle very quietly since Tyreek Hill went down. There's 5 games ago. There's been 5 games since Tyreek Hill's injury, and Jaylen Waddle has at least 80 receiving yards in 4 of those 5 games. You see it right there on your screen. Only the game against the Browns, which is forgivable for him not producing against Cleveland. But the other games, he's just been terrific, and it's worth noting that these Bills have allowed at least 16.9 fantasy points to a wide receiver in 4 straight games. And so to your point, Jay, about them being almost double-digit underdogs, that they're going to have to throw. And so you're telling me a wide receiver is going to get at least 16 points against the Bills. What's the wide receiver on the Dolphins we feel pretty good about? Jaylen Waddle. He's going to be the one that gets it. He's my wide receiver 14. Feels like this is a good game script for him, who's been quietly productive on a team that hasn't been that productive, generally speaking.
Aloha Bricks start 2 full PPR, Ladd, Rome, Waddle, or Nico.
Yeah, a lot of good options there, but I think it's Nico Collins and Ladd McConkey.
Even with Davis Mills.
Even with Davis Mills, just because he's Nico Collins. Hang on. But what happens, we saw it with Jacoby Brissett and Marvin Harrison Jr., when you have a backup quarterback in, yeah, I mean, every once in a while you get to, the Tim Boyles of the world that can't complete a pass. But generally speaking, most back-end...
Shout out Tim Boyle.
Yeah, most backup quarterbacks are competent. They're obviously, they were good athletes at some point. They're good enough to be a quarterback in the NFL. They're not good enough necessarily to be the starter, but they're good enough to be a quarterback in the NFL. And so what that means is maybe they don't have the full range of looking all over the place, but they can certainly get a ball to your number one read. And so that would be my argument about Davis Mills here, is that I don't know how great you feel about Christian Kirk or Jalen Noel or anything like that, but I do think he'll be able to get the ball to Nico Collins, and I think actually similar to what Jacoby did with Marvin Harrison last week, he will force the ball to Nico Collins because he just knows that's the guy.
Yeah. And right? Davis Mills has had stretches of being able to have like 260 passing yard games before, so he should be able to push the ball.
And they're home against the Jaguars. Jaguars are 26th against the pass over the last month.
Yep.
So yes, Nico Collins.
Are you saying Tim Boyle is good enough to be an NFL quarterback?
He's the Mendoza line. He's it's sort of right there.
Yeah, I don't know.
He is somehow kicked around. I don't
get it
either.
Tim Boyle doesn't watch the show, particularly live on YouTube.
I've heard he's a lovely guy. I'm sure he's a lovely guy.
Sure he is.
Yeah.
With Jaylen Waddle, something that a lot of people tend to do is you remove one game from the sample. It's like, oh, you just look at the other games. But to do that, there has to be a good reason to remove the game from the sample. And if you remove the Cleveland game, he's been like a top 5-ish wide receiver. Yeah. And I think there is reason to remove it because it was in like 40-mile-per-hour crazy winds. KJammer89, lol, Tim Boyle just raised the middle finger at Barry's head right now. Tim Boyle catching strays. Just wants to know whether to start
Get him,
Nico
Tim.
Collins or Jaylen Waddle. And just,
we know he wasn't using the middle finger to throw a football, so that's fine.
Oh, Barry with the comeback.
Maybe he should have
Let us know what you got coming back, Tim Boyle.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you can't just let Barry do you like that.
All right, another whipping boy on this show, Kyle Pitts.
He's my Todd Zeal.
Tim Boyle. All right, Kyle Pitts gets a pretty favorable matchup, Lawrence, against the Colts.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at what Pittsburgh's tight ends did to the Colts last week, 10 catches, 95 yards, and 1 touchdown. Now, that was 3 tight ends, so it's kind of weird, but there's only 1 tight end they use on Atlanta now, finally, now that Arthur Smith ain't there. But they allowed the 4th most fantasy points per game to tight ends, the Indianapolis Colts, doing the 2nd most receiving yards. And Kyle Pitts, we talk about target share a lot in fantasy, but what about the percentage of receptions caught? He's caught 16% of Atlanta's passing attempts. That's 2nd on the team, right behind Drake London, who's at 17%. In his last 3 games, 6.5 receptions, 8.5 targets, averaging 53 yards in that span. So those are top 10 numbers, and Kyle Pitts is not giving you a top 10 tight end week every single week, but this is one of those weeks he could potentially do that.
Yep, Sauce Gardner, full participant in practice as well, so you suspect that he will play in Berlin, and he will get the Drake London assignment.
Just in time to get burnt by London.
Yep. Yeah. Neck Brace Nation, just terrifying profile picture there. Oh man, the neck brace is off. What am I supposed to do?
No, I'll tell you what, Nation. Here's what you do. You carry the torch.
Man, that's funny as hell.
We have to always remember the neck brace. So you continue to carry the torch, Neck Brace Nation. Yeah. You guys are the ones. I like that he went with the Cisco. Is that what we decided?
To be fair,
I decided Nicki Minaj.
To be fair, Neck Brace Nation, I will still be wearing a neck brace, just not when you see me on this show. So find solace in that.
Yes, and also we can always find solace in the fact that you may need another neck surgery.
I will not find solace in that. In fact, my doctor told me it's looking good, Lawrence. You're on the right path. So, I'll be back on the 49ers defense in no time.
We'll see. All right. I don't know if it's because you were wearing the neck brace for so long, but your neck looks skinnier. Is there a chance that your neck, because it wasn't getting oxygen or whatever?
It
looks skinnier. Like calf muscle shrivels after a broken leg.
You can see the nice little,
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, it looks skinnier.
Yeah,
your neck has lost weight.
It's like if you put a cast on your leg, you take that off, then you ain't gonna have the Barry ankles. They're gonna be toothpicks.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say it's not that often I stare at another man's neck. It's kind of a different
world.
world.
Hey, look, ain't been able to hit the weight room. We gotta get.
That's all right.
Gotta get back to shrugs.
It's a slow road back.
Yes, it is.
Matthew, Sam Laporta gets a favorable matchup against your Commanders. He's quietly had a pretty good stretch. It's just been overshadowed a little bit by the fact. I feel like Sam Laporta, he hasn't lived up to the expectations since his awesome rookie year, but he's just old, reliable, a solid top 5 tight end.
Since week 5, he's been a top 3 fantasy tight end in points per game basis, 20% target share, 3 of the last 4. And so I'm with you. It just, he's coming off the big game here. I'm going to need him. Sam Laporta is my fantasy tight end against the chubby Lather Daddy, so I hope he lights up my Commanders. So our season's lost. So now I'm just rooting for fantasy points. It's worth noting that among all the other bad stats that I have about my Commanders defense, and I've got plenty. I have got plenty. One of them is that over the last 3 weeks, Washington has given up over 70 fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Over 70 points in 3 weeks. That's not good.
No, it's not great.
Jay,
no. AJ Barner cooking.
Yes, Elijah Royo had the big touchdown instead of Jay Sen, who, by the way, is open on that play.
Yeah, he was wide open.
It's so annoying.
Unbelievable. What are the Commanders doing in the secondary? You got multiple players wide open on the same play.
It's a disaster.
Unbelievable. All right, let's get to some others receiving votes. There are still some people in New Orleans, even if Rashid Shaheed isn't one of them. But Chris Olave, I'm not sure how much higher his target rate can go up, but if it can, we'll find out against the Panthers, Matthew.
Well, I think it's important because, when Chris Olave gets at least 7 targets, and you certainly expect he will against Carolina, he's averaging over 15 fantasy points per game. Behind Chris Olave, here's the depth chart. Brandon Cooks, who's 32 years old. Devon Bele, who's got 5 receptions on the year. Mason Tipton, who has 0. So Wan'Dale Robinson's there. I know he's on Lawrence's team. Bears have allowed the most touchdowns to the slot this season and the 6th most yards per game. How about Romeo Doubs with at least a 28% target share in 3 of the last 4, averaging over 65 yards per game in that one? Obviously, no Tucker Kraft for this one. He's out for the year. Matthew Golden left the last game with a shoulder injury. Christian Watson's never been a big volume guy. So Romeo Doubs against Philadelphia that has struggled with their secondary. I think they're going to have to throw. Finally, Oronde Gadsden the second. He's been a top 12 fantasy tight end for 12 straight weeks. Pittsburgh very bad against the opposing tight end. And another guy, again, I'm trying to speak this into existence, but I do believe it. Harold Fannin Jr. I'm going to have to go 2 tight ends against him. 12.
Oh, no.
I mean, this is how bad my team is. I've got to go 12 personnel against Jay. So I got a tight end, and then I got I'm going to literally Harold Fannin's one of my flexes this week. But since week 5, he's been a top 10 fantasy tight end points per game. Jets have allowed at least 20 fantasy points to a tight end in 3 of the last 5. So Fannin going up against defense that wasn't good to begin with, just lost Sauce Gardner. Dylan Gabriel under center doesn't kind of a noodle arm.
It don't matter who they play. He's throwing it to him.
Yeah.
I'm sure your 2 tight end approach will go great against my Amon-Ra St. Brown, JSN, Brock Bowers, Quinshon Judkins, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, etc.
It's so bad, Jay. I might have to also start Mason Taylor. I might have to go 3 tight ends.
3 tight ends.
Yeah, 3 tight ends.
It's barely allowed.
He athletic.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com. And I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched. Or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.